So what Trump called Liberation Day, I'm calling Obliteration Day. And that's the subject of today's video. Basically, the markets crashed like we haven't seen since 2020 COVID, and the Trump team is scrambling to try to make sense of this and sell it to you. Have a watch at this.
For decades, Donald Trump has been making this argument of restructuring the American economy so that we're not suckers and losers on the bad side of every international trade. But it's also a restructuring of not just our economy, but I would argue, and that we should see it as, a potential restructuring of the American spirit, the purpose of America.
So I feel like when I watch this stuff, there's basically calling us suckers and losers. And when I see this, I'm just like, should I laugh? Should I cry? Should I yell at the screen? But honestly, that's what Trump has pulled off on people, a big scam. And I guess if you fall for the Trump scam, you are a sucker and loser. I don't want to be mean about this, but it's a scam. They want to reorganize, as they're saying, the American spirit and economy, but it's in a spirit and economy that benefits billionaires like Elon Musk. That's their plan. I'll show you more of it. They announced the gold card today officially before they talked about it. Now they actually got a real card. For real, you got to see this thing. Have a look.
5 million.
There it is, the Trump gold card. He's holding it up there. He's saying $5 million. And basically, if you don't know, this is a way to replace the green card system. He's calling it a gold card, Trump gold card. And they're going to sell it to billionaires around the world, be it from Saudi, Russia, China, whatever. And effectively, if you want to come and money launder in the USA, hey, be my guest, get a Trump gold card. I know they said Trump gold card before, but I didn't know he's necessarily going to put his face on it. But there it is. Let's see what else he has to say about this. He's saying $5 million for the Trump gold card.
For $5 million, this could be yours.
This could be yours, guys.
It's the first of the cards. And then, you know what that card is?
Gold card.
It's the gold card. The Trump card. Gold.
It's like, should we laugh? Should we cry? I mean, the Trump gold card. He's going to say he's the first buyer, but he doesn't know who buyer number 2 is. Let's watch this. It's great.
Who's the first buyer?
Me.
Who's
I'm
the second?
First. I don't know, but I'm the first buyer.
He doesn't know who the second buyer is. He's claiming he's the first buyer. Again, the $5 million Trump gold card. They even showed on Fox News. It's crazy.
It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks. Pretty exciting, right?
Yeah, less than 2 weeks. Are you guys excited for your Trump gold card? Are you going to sign up? That's their plan. And they're going to try to sell you that, oh, yeah, let's kick out all these other people, right? They're spending a bunch of money on deportations, and let's bring a bunch of billionaires and buy my 5 million. It's a scam. I mean, can you guys see it's a scam and a grift? I was actually pretty surprised that he put his face on. Honestly, I thought they were going to do more like, I mean, when I'm looking at it now, I guess it's like an American Express kind of design because that's got a face on it, right? It used to, at least. I don't know about the newer ones. That's what it is. Let's have some more. Look, he's going to try to defend his economy, etc. Let's watch.
This is a patient that was very sick. We really inherited a terrible economy, as you know, with a lot of problems.
All right, so basically, first they call us suckers and losers, right? And now we're saying we're a sick patient, they inherited a terrible economy, all this kind of stuff. And it's all going to be Joe Biden's fault, right? That's what they're going to say. I'll just tell you the truth on this stuff. A lot of these things that Trump is up to, it's all self-inflicted wounds on us, right? The whole tariff thing, the trade war, we're already seeing it in the markets. The markets are crashing. No one has trust in what Trump is up to. And then his announcement today, before I told you guys he's going to go to a golf event, and now he's selling the Trump gold cards. I mean, isn't it obvious these people are incompetent? I know we make jokes about this stuff, and it's hard to deal with this thing every single day because, unfortunately, real people are going to get hurt. But I do want you to see what they're saying just so we can understand it together. And I know a lot of you have to deal with your friends and family who still follow this guy. And that's kind of the question I would pose. It's like, okay, so to people who, you know in your life that like Trump, ask him, well, what do you think about this Trump gold card thing that he's selling? Are they, regular Americans, do they think they're going to get this money? Is that what they think? I mean, if you know anything about Trump, I mean, he sells you gold shoes, steaks, he sells you Bibles, and now gold cards. Let's see what more they had to say as well.
How long is it going to take? Because I've seen factories that take 5 years to get up and running. How quickly can that happen?
Well, it's already happening. If you look at the real-time data from last month or the month before or 2 months ago, then you can start to see that people are beginning to get ready. Like there were a whole bunch of jobs, auto jobs created in the last jobs report. And so the fact is that people are starting to onshore production here in the U.S. and it's
So that's their plan. They think that the tariffs suddenly will put tariffs on various countries, and suddenly all these other countries are going to come and build factories, and you're all going to have jobs. That's their plan. I'll question that. Why? Because where's that money going to come from? If you understand that a lot of manufacturing jobs, and I'm just going to use the example of say toys or clothes or building iPhones or any number of things, right? Many of these jobs say are in China, or you could use the example of Vietnam, which they put heavy tariffs on there. Do you think suddenly, Vietnamese and Chinese have tons and tons of cash and they're going to bring it over? If you don't know and you've been following this stuff, they're suffering economic slowdowns as well. They're thinking like, from their perspective, now I'll use the example of China. They just had a real estate meltdown, and they're trying to convince all their investors to keep their money in China. Seriously, that's been their thing. And then actually in China, they've been having essentially kind of private meetings with wealthy people in China to kind of, how sort of to say it, encourage them in a sort of mafia kind of way to keep their money in China. So this idea that, just for example, there's all this foreign money going to come in, I think it's nonsense. And then he's selling you the gold cards. That's why I said, that's more likely to be money laundering and that kind of stuff, not necessarily jobs for you. And if there is, and I want to mention this really clearly, if there is jobs for you, they're going to fudge the numbers. So for example, they'll say before, hey, we're going to build this new, AI robotic factory thing, and we're going to create, 10,000 jobs, just for example. As it turns out, the way they'll count it is that, yes, there might be, say, 9,999 jobs in the beginning to build the actual factory, construction jobs. But then after those jobs end, we'll say 6 months, a year, a couple of years, whatever, all those jobs will go away, and then there'll just be a few people working in the factory. So it'll be a way for them to play with the numbers. I just wanted to bring that up. Let's see more of what they have to say here.
You'll remember, Larry, from the first term, and you were there, we would argue and we'd get into these long talks with foreign countries about how they needed to bring down their barriers, bring down their tariffs, and they would just say, okay, let's have a dialogue. And even our friends, the European Union, Japan, all these others say, let's have a dialogue, we'll talk about it, and 2 years from now, we'll talk some more about getting it down. Well, the time for that is over. We have to export. We have to make sure that these other countries aren't exporting their own, lack of domestic demand to us and forcing us to take all of their stuff that they're making and that they won't buy themselves. We need to balance all of this out, and we need to do it now.
All right. Okay. How to even begin? They always misrepresent stuff. I'll just put it to you this way. Trade is a big part of our economy. Getting things from various countries is a big part. I'll just give you some examples. Like, I remember I was reading something recently, like say Chipotle. They get a lot of guacamole from Mexico. It's just something that Mexicans have down there. Or we get a lot of produce, vegetables also from Mexico. If you want to talk about Canada, we get a lot of energy and fuel. We want to talk about potash, any number of things. I'm just using examples of like, we trade. Or if you want to talk about something like, there's something, things that say France has that we don't have or we don't produce. They got luxury goods, they have wine, these kind of things. There's things that we export to them that they need that maybe they don't have. Like we export food all around the world. That's actually a big thing that we don't talk about enough. And then he's saying like, oh, well, they're not buying some of our stuff and we don't want to buy some of their stuff. Actually, it just depends on market preferences. Every market's going to be a little bit different. So say in USA, you can sell these like really, really big Ford F-150 trucks or, Cyber trucks or whatever. Other markets may not want to take that stuff. It's just maybe in a situation of Tesla Cybertruck, the regulations are different. They're unsafe. The customers don't want that kind of thing. I mean, they kind of misrepresent all this stuff. I just want to make it really clear. We're interdependent on each other. And the more that USA puts up these trade barriers, it hurts everyone, to be perfectly frank. And it hurts the USA the most. They're going to claim the USA is going to come out the winners, though, but I disagree. I think the other countries are going to form trade alliances and reorganize, manufacturing chains to integrate with each other and just leave the USA out of it if that is where this world is going. But they keep trying to make the case that, we have to do things, stop talking to our allies and just go for action now and try to be forceful. But it's not going to work. And again, you see it reflected in the markets. Let's see what else they have to say here. And it's fun to go through these things. Let's have a watch.
How negotiable are these tariffs? What does it take for countries to actually negotiate the tariffs that were just announced yesterday?
Let me make this very clear. This is not a negotiation. This is not that. This is a national emergency. And I watched a commentator today on another network who came from South Carolina who said very clearly, well, if we're going to have somebody come here and invest in a textile plant or an auto plant or whatever, they're not going to do that if they think the tariffs are going to go away tomorrow. And the reason they can't go away tomorrow is because the bigger problem is the non-tariff barriers. You think that the European Union is going to give up their protections for farmers, their protections for the tech companies, their VAT tax tomorrow? That's impossible. So these tariffs are here to protect America. They'll raise revenues for the External Revenue Service.
Okay, he's talking about a lot here. I'll try to address a couple of these. So first, he mentioned the External Revenue Service thing. I think Trump's going to announce that tomorrow or something very, very soon. If you don't know, it's a big scam, which a lot of Trump says. We have the IRS, which basically collects taxes. They want to call it the ERS, and they're going to try to sell it to the American people as we're going to use this service to collect the tariff money, and then effectively that goes into their slush fund. They're going to pretend, though, that the External Revenue Service is taking a tax on foreign countries. It's just not the case. You're going to end up paying it. And so it's a bit of a scam. They're just labeling it as external, but still you're going to pay for it. It's a tax. And again, that money is going to go to the slush fund to then fund Musk companies or whatever ventures that they want to do. On top of that, he's talking about that these tariffs aren't going to go away anytime soon. I mean, this could be a really long trade war fight, unfortunately, and that's sort of why we're also watching the reaction from around the world. We already saw Europe saying we're going to all suffer and it would be dire. I showed you guys it in the prior video, and we saw Canada's already hitting back as well. China's already said they're going to do something. The Commerce Secretary from China was like, no one's going to win in this. I mean, this is sort of the world that we're creating. Basically, USA is picking a fight, and they're acting like they're going to win, or we. But unfortunately, we're all going to be losers. And I think, honestly, the USA is going to be the biggest loser out of this stuff because you're isolating yourselves from the rest of the world. Let's have a look at what else they have to say about this. This is actually Social Security. This is the new Social Security guy, the nominee. So he isn't in charge of it quite yet, but we'll see. I'll show you guys what he has to say.
First of all, it's been very, very clear that the president's been very, very clear. We are not going to touch anybody's benefits. These are earned benefits. The first job is to understand what we have and run it as efficiently and effectively with the highest level of service.
So that's the supposed new guy of Social Security, and I'll let you guys be the judge if you trust this guy or not. His name is Frank Bizignano, and he came in from the private sector. What I think he's going to do, and I think what he's going to be working with Musk is probably fire a lot of people, try to automate some things. And what the claims that they've been making before is that they're not cutting anything. That's the claim that they're going to make. But there's a key phrase that they keep using is like, we won't cut any legitimate payments. We won't cut any payments for people who deserve it, etc. And then they'll kind of make it more broad of who doesn't deserve it, right? They'll kind of figure out a way to, come up with all these new definitions of Social Security and that kind of thing. I also think it's important to mention that with the Social Security, since all of these taxes and tariffs are going to go up, that'll be basically a way to tax you, right? They're going to make the claim of, no, we're not going to do tax on Social Security anymore. We're not going to do any tax on overtime. We're going to lower all these taxes, et cetera. That's the claims they're going to make, but you're going to end up paying taxes basically through the tariffs because all of the goods that you buy on a regular basis are going to go up in price. So they're just sort of shifting around where the tax burdens are going to be and how you're going to pay. And then ultimately it becomes regressive, meaning that lower income families will pay more, a higher percentage of their income than upper income families. So that's what we're dealing with. I just wanted to share you guys everything that they're saying, what's going on. And I also want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this Trump gold card thing? Do you think people are going to buy it? And did you think that he was actually going to put his face on it? And he did. Do appreciate your time, everyone. And I'll catch you all in the next video.